What is shaking? Stop laughing at me. Stop laughing at me, Dr. Sonal. Episode 159, Golden Mike Live. Big one. The importance of self-care to succeed in motherhood, and I would say in life in general. I've got a very, very, very special guest today. We've known each other for a long time. So Dr. Sonal, I almost called you Dr. Sonal Sexy. Dr. Sonal Patel, neonatologist, pediatrician, founder of NayaCare and the Zigzag Explorer. We're going to talk about all of those today. Here's the one that mother of 4 boys. You lucked out. 4 boys. That's a boy band right there. That was and if you remember in college, that was my dream come true, a boy band.
I was fulfilling your dream, Mark.
Yeah. And the one that I remember the most, she married her college sweetheart. I went to college with Sonal and Nimesh, and this was the thing. We all knew they were getting married. It was like the biggest non-surprise ever. We were just like, these two are going to be together forever. They were a power couple. They are a power couple. And what's been interesting is we haven't kept in touch after college. So I know what your first reaction is damn, Mark, you have aged well. You have aged well, Mark. You're like, damn, kid. Well, guess what? Game recognized game, Sonal. You look exactly like you did in college. This is crazy. Sonal, it is great reconnecting with you. How are you today?
I'm good. And one thing that has not changed about you is your love of life, man. You make everybody around you just so excited just to be alive. So that has not changed at all.
But you know what has changed?
What?
Extra large shirts now, baby. I'm not in Indian dance troops anymore. No more Browntown for me.
That's what you have to keep up with.
I know exactly. So I mean, I really love the fact that the same goes for you. Is we laughed all the way through college. It was one big joke. And also at the same time, Sonal and Nimesh were 2 people who were serious about their shit and serious about serving, and it is not a surprise now that you've been sort of founding these programs. You've been founding you're a mother of 4, you're a neonatologist. So let's go there for a second. But for those of you who know Sonal but don't know me, my name is Mark Cordone. I'm a positive psychology coach, founder of the Make Money Coaching Program, and the co-founder of the Joy Revolution. You're not surprised probably that I'm doing happiness work now, right?
No, I mean, it fits you so naturally. What did surprise me was your book. That was amazing. You actually
did work.
It actually came out. It was brilliant.
Yes, and there's a couple more coming out too. Don't check Kindle today because you might see my name out there. Don't check Kindle, people. So yeah, there might be a couple more on the way, but I think one of the greatest things is that you can see everybody's talents when we're in college, but then when you actually match the talent with the passion, you couldn't get me to write a 3-page paragraph when I worked in the multicultural office. But then when you get me to write something that I'm passionate about, I could just go for days, right? So I think that's something that I love. Being passionate about my kids, my family is something that I love as well. Let's talk about that today, because we always wondered what it would be like when Sonal finally had her babies, and she did it ×4. But let me talk to you guys a little bit about positive psychology. The first thing is, it's the easiest job in the world, which is why I love it. I just get to ask my friends 2 questions. Number 1, how happy are you today? And then number 2, so for you and Nimesh, it would be, what is your positive affect, right? And then number 2, how much are you living in your meaning and purpose? So Sonal, I have the same question for you, sister, in this reuniting of Emory people. How happy are you today, and how much are you living in your purpose?
So at this moment, I am extremely happy. But to get there, I mean, it was challenging, I would have to say.
Mm.
And now I feel I'm living my purpose. So, but the journey had a lot of soul searching, a lot of disappointments, a lot of heartaches and failures. But I mean, anybody who's going through that journey can come on the other side, and when they make it, they know how it feels. So at this moment, it's incredible.
Well,
Oh,
let's talk about that in a second. We got George the Animal Steel tuning in from the upper east part of the United States. George, yo! Congratulations on your anniversary and all the great things happening with you, George. He's my tag team partner in crime over there. I want to talk about that journey with you in a second, Sonal. But for those of you who are living life in full purpose, for those of you who went through a journey, for those of you who see Sonal again for the first time in Mark, and we're not sitting in the duck shooting the crap, give us those hearts. Let us see some hearts. Let us know that you're living above that status quo. Here's the other thing. A lot of people think that it's 24/7 shits and giggles. Are the kids around?
no.
Shits and giggles 24/7. And positive psychology is always chasing the happiness and being happy and all of those things. Well, let me tell you this. I'm going to quote Tal Ben-Shahar, who's an amazing Harvard professor who studied this subject. If you're happy 24/7, you're one of two things. Number one, you're dead. And number two, you're a sociopath. Right? Life is about the ups and the downs, the journey, the soul searching, coming through the other side of things, knowing yourself even better, and knowing that not every single day is going to be the shits and giggles. Sonal with her 4 babies, Nimesh with his huge hands. You gotta see this guy's hands. He had humongous hands in college with his huge hands throwing out Skittles to the world. No, that's not the happiness we're talking about. We're talking about an inner joy, an inner peace that you can feel while you're on that journey. Now, if you're on the journey yourself right now and you're like, Dr. Patel, I'm not feeling it today. I'm not happy. I don't have that positive affect. Or you're saying, Mark, you know what? I've been in this relationship. I've been in this job for like 30 years and I'm falling out of love with it. I'm losing my meaning and purpose. That is cool. That's why we live life, is so we go through these cycles of growth and change. Give us the thumbs up and let us know that you're living life. That's all we need. And let Sonal and I wash over and entertain you today. There might be a couple things that stick with you, especially if you are in motherhood right now, especially that, or you know a mother. Haha, I got the whole audience involved right there, Sonal. Here's the last thing. I want to see if Sonal does this. Sonal, have you studied the stuff on hope? Not like hope, like wishing. Have you studied of the effects of hope on people?
I haven't studied it, but I think I know where you're going with it.
Yes. For people who actually engage in hope, and this isn't the type of hope where you're like throwing out a wish and a prayer to people. It's the type of hope where you actually have a vision and you start moving towards that vision and you're gaining confidence every day. If you're feeling hopeful, that's as powerful as EQ and IQ in terms of succeeding in the world and getting things done. So for those of you right now who are hopeful, and Sonal is hopeful, there's another button I want you to hit. This is called the engagement part, Sonal. Let me get through it. There's another button I want you to hit. It's called the wow face. Sonal, you're my age, so I know you know what an emoji is, and you know what that wow face looks like. Make the wow face with me, Sonal. Let's do it for old time's sake. Let's do it for the Barbara Redondos and the Ravi Bojas and everyone we used to hang with. That's the wow face for everybody. Now, given that we did go to college, and ostensibly what I thought was that this was a Hollywood or Bollywood ending for you and Nimesh. Like you guys had met and all you needed to do was have each other and ride off into the sunset. Now, you're telling me you had a journey and you had soul searching and heartache throughout the process of these, how many years has it been? Like, let's not say how many years it's been. So like, it's been a couple years, but talk to me. What is your story?
So, It was absolutely right. Like I was one of the really lucky ones that
Yeah.
found my soulmate. And I mean, we both argue how many weeks into it, but we both know it was like day one. And we actually did med school apart. And that was 3.5 years. We were long distance. And I think,
You were in Nebraska. He was
and Nimesh was in Arkansas.
okay.
Yeah. And we
That's
saw
far.
each other. Yeah, we saw each other probably in, like, if you think of it as a semester, maybe 3 times a semester, physically seeing each other.
Wow.
And so, yes. So,
And
you know,
now I need to qualify with this. They were seen together 24/7 in college.
right.
They were always with each other in college.
Yep.
So
that was,
to 3 times
yeah.
a semester.
Yep. And like for a weekend, right? Because there's not really long breaks. So that was, I think that actually made us much stronger. It did challenge us, but it made us much stronger because we came out of it saying, you know we were meant for each other because we were really young. I mean, you're 18 when you go to college and you graduate in your 20s, and to make that decision to be like, is this the person the rest of my life? It was the actual distance allowed us to see that, yes, this is the person for the rest of my life.
Well, I got to ask you, because we just always assumed, was there ever a point where you or Nimesh were like, I don't know if this is actually going to work?
Yeah, I was, Nimesh wasn't. It was just.
Now, was there some convincing that had to happen on his part? Like, do not give up on love. Nimesh would never say that, by the way. But like, was there ever a point, or was it just you'd share with him?
No, I would just share with them like how we would do this, what's the logistics of it. For those who don't know, like you said, my maiden name is Succe. We come from different regions of India, and that actually years ago, now it doesn't even matter, but years ago we actually faced like, how could you marry or more from his end, like how could you marry someone from the north? You should be marrying a Gujarati instead because Patel's a Gujarati name, And so it was just, it was those kind of things that you were like, oh, I didn't realize that I had to go through that.
Sure.
And then, but the distance was great. And it really, I mean, for us, it brought us together rather than putting us apart.
Okay.
So,
okay. And it wasn't soon after med school that you guys tied the knot.
Yep. And then we went to do residency in New Orleans, which was amazing. It's an amazing city. You're finally actually making a little bit of money, and you're still young and you can abuse your body. So it was just, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So,
if Facebook existed when we were in college. So talk to me now. You went, and I mean, the children now.
yes.
So the Sonal and Nimesh story now begins to add new ones to it.
Yes.
And I don't want to make assumptions, but I want to know how that was for you when you were going through that transition and going from 2 to 3 to now 6.
We always knew we wanted to. We knew that, but we had to kind of coordinate it through our training, because you just can't when you're in. But we're both physicians. We're both training. We're both doing 80 hours plus when we're training. So you can't. You really have to. It's your training dictates when you have kids. And so we had one child in residency/fellowship, and we moved up to Boston. So that juggling of that just one child to make sure, we relied on. We didn't have any family there. We relied heavily on friends. And I just remember one time, I was doing my NICU fellowship and Nimesh was doing his trauma fellowship. I'm on the ambulance going to pick up a sick baby. But before I can turn my focus there, I'm actually coordinating via phone how my own child is going to be picked up and be safe. So those are kind of some challenges that I don't think so people realize, like, you go through and you build, but then when you cross it and you're like, wow, I did it. I was able to serve my family, my child, and be the best physician I could be.
Now, I'm guessing when you're in the moment, because I've had a couple emergencies with both work and my son, like it's almost like I turn into a different person. It's like, I've seen people like they'll start crying and get overwhelmed, and like, the shits and giggles mark goes away. And it's like, mark the, okay, get this done, call this person, do this, okay, gotta get on, I need you to call this person, blah 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 blah. Was it like that with you when as a young parent? And then, like, for me afterwards, it's like, then it hits me what happened, and I'm like, oh my god, like, when I have a moment to myself, I'm like, holy shit, what just happened?
Just did that.
Yeah, I just did that.
I think that's the thing. It's like, I mean, you can't cry. You can't, that's not a productive thing. You just have to step back, you breathe, and you say, okay, what do I need to do in this moment? And just this moment to make sure things are accomplished. But when you accomplish them, I think this is the part that I've learned and where motherhood comes into play. You need to give pat yourself on the back from getting through it. You have to high five yourself, because you just put yourself into some situation and you're like, shoot, I just did that. I made sure that my patient was safe. I made sure my kid was safe. And you know what? I was home for dinner. And by that day, I did that.
Yes.
And you have to do that for yourself.
Speaking of dinner, I remember the day that you and Nimesh went and cooked us all chicken tikka masala and naan. Do you remember when we lived in that dirty old apartment in Woodland Hills? I was still the best. But anyways, it's like memory lane / like future Sonal. So I'm like going back and forth right now. Now, was that something that you saw yourself doing, being able to self high five yourself early on in the process?
No, I was taught that. I was taught by amazing physician women mentors that I had in my training. And we always joked that, as a physician mom, we need a wife at home. Like, we need someone to do that stuff, because physician dads can just literally, I see this every day. They get up and they leave. They don't have to worry about scheduling. They don't have to worry about schools. We need a wife. And they really taught me how to, first of all, like, you're making some money, right? So why are you feeling guilty that some of that pot is going to a house cleaner? You're here working your butt off doing it. Why do you feel guilty if you need to outsource X amount of stuff? You're making the income that's coming in too. You're contributing to it.
Did you feel guilty about getting a house cleaner?
I think it's a woman thing that you feel guilty about getting stuff for your own happiness. Like, it's like, but no, it literally took only 6 months. And then I was like,
screw this. This place is looking like Ravi and Mark's old place. Like,
right, exactly.
Derek Villanueva eating old pizza on it was so crazy.
Living with a boy, and then unfortunately I just added boys to my collection. So all I do is I live with boys.
I love the fact that you've got 4 boys. That's like dream come true. Like, me surrounded by like 4 of my like boy kin. I have to tell you, I'm downright scared if I ever have a girl. But like so this idea now of, you're handling this new role, you're handling existing roles which are acute already, as a doctor, you're doing things with emergency situations. You're both working parents. Auntie and uncle and grandpa and grandpa aren't necessarily there early on. Did you experience postpartum?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the reason that I actually was very eye-opening. I experienced it with my second and third one. And I just want to clarify for all the moms out there, depression is a misnomer. Postpartum depression is total misnomer. For somebody, especially like me, who was very high functioning, what I was doing was I was checking off boxes with my kids, like, oh, I've breastfed, I've changed the diaper, I've got the meals down, but I wasn't engaged in my world. And so my brother actually pointed out that, hey, I think you might be depressed, because if you looked at from the outside, you would think I had it all together. At the end of the day, everything was checked off, but there was no connection to my baby. There was no connection to my world. Then with my third one, I had a lot of anxiety. and a lot of like, what if something goes bad with my babies, or what if I can't handle this, and just very overwhelming anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
With my fourth, we never found out with any one of them what we were having. With my fourth, I hadn't even brought him his first like welcome home outfit that I did for all the other ones, and that was like panic attack. So I want to say like, depression is complete misnomer. It's like you have all these other symptoms that's going on, and yeah, that's one thing I really want to get out there.
I have I've had a few clients and folks who've definitely specialized in this, and I'm gonna send this to them because I think it's really interesting that you talk about the misnomer of postpartum depression, and really what it is sort of a disengagement from life, and how many people right now, mothers or not, could be walking around life being completely disengaged from it, just checking off boxes. It feels like a very zombie-like state.
Mm-hmm.
Like just
Definitely.
pressing buttons and like almost being a machine.
Right.
A couple things. A couple things that I've heard about postpartum depression is that the current stats are that it affects 1 in 10, but I'm hearing that it's a much higher
Right.
morbidity rate than that. It's closer to what?
It could be as close to 1 to 5,
Yep.
and 1 to, yeah.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. So, and dads also, 10% of fathers actually go, 10 to 15% of fathers actually go through it too. Because
Really?
remember, right, because it's a life change. It's a major life change that's happening in your life. Oh, and dads usually respond with their stressors come from the fact that, first of all, and which I like to do, is they don't know how to be involved in the first couple of weeks, because they feel like all they're doing is changing diapers, like that's their job. So I'll get into how I help dads out too. And then on the flip end, we are the worst country with paternity and maternity leave, so there's no this like just 2 weeks to just breathe and enjoy the fact that you've created a family. It's just a huge life change. And then they're stressed about work. They're stressed about going back to work. Then they have to come back. They're having lack of sleep as well, because now they're trying to help and support their families. So it is a huge life change. And sometimes dads go through, what I term as a life change, because I don't know the exact word for it. But in the sense they have anger, and they make bad decisions. They have bad monetary decisions that they're making, and they start lashing out, and they internally don't know why they're doing it.
Was Nimesh one of those 10%? I can't imagine him being that.
Oh, he was actually, you know what? We had a really bad incident happen when my third was born. 6 weeks after that, unfortunately, Nimesh's dad had a major stroke. Mm-hmm. And so I think Nimesh's character is that I don't think he can handle a lot more than people, but at 6 weeks, and his parents at that time still lived in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we were in Denver, Colorado. So he would work all week, now we have, oh my goodness, at that time it was like a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a newborn type of deal. He would work all week. He would try to help me out, and then on the weekends would be down in the ICU with his dad. And he did that for a month, like constant. And I know he was exhausted. Like, I knew it, but I myself was exhausted. Like, I would have episodes of where I would just start crying. I would burst out. I would say mean things to him, not realizing that, like, now I can reflect back. I mean, that was a stressful situation. And from his viewpoint, his wife has just delivered. His dad's had this major issue. He's in the ICU, and he's just kind of traveling back and forth. And he has to be there for his patients. So
yeah, and I know psychiatrists, whenever there's a major life transition, it's not really diagnosable, but they call it something. I forgot what it's called. And so psychiatrists are watching, because we have a huge audience in that, Sonal. So we have a huge audience. So psychiatrist, I'm going to send it to my cousin who's a psychiatrist. It's like this. It's like a transition thing, and like you're completely disengaged for a bit because like you're so like rattled, right?
Right.
Now, identity wise, Did you or Nimesh go through anything? Let's go to your story, right? Because I'm gonna have Nimesh come back, and I want him to tell his story. But did you go through any kind of identity shifts? Like here I am, the
Oh yeah.
mother. I'm used to getting attention from Nimesh, and like Nimesh turns to the is giving everyone's giving the baby attention. When I walk in public, everyone's looking at the baby, and all I am is the baby pusher. Like, did you go through any of that transition with your identity?
With one, I mean, it was not with the baby. One thing with the well, I can relate it to it. I don't like to cook. Like I do not like to at all. And that identity shift of Nimesh trying, like we're Asian, right? So
Yeah.
you're supposed to know how to cook. You're supposed to like how to cook. You're supposed to have these like fabulous meals. And I hate cooking. I seriously hate cooking. And that I think as a couple was an identity shift. It's
Okay.
like, that is not me. Like after all these years, I'm done faking it. That's not me. Like I do not like this process of it, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. And so I think in that terms of a relation, and that's how the kids affected it, because now you're trying to juggle the kids, and then you're given a responsibility that you don't like.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with all those people who love to cook, because your food has love in it if you love it. My food would come out crap. I'm just putting stuff together. Here's a meal.
I still remember when you guys made that chicken. You were probably sitting in the kitchen while Nimesh was making it. But like, do you remember when you guys made that? You and Ravi
Yeah,
and
I think it's Rocky and Nimesh making it. And I was just, and that was like, I wish like he had noticed that at that time. But I think that was more of identity, not the identity with my kids. I didn't mind that. I didn't mind them like cooing and gooing and stuff like that. But one thing I did learn, and I do this to a lot to my clients, I actually always engage them and say, what have you done today for yourself? And that is where motherhood, the reason we're talking, I mean, it can take a little as 5 minutes, but I tell my moms, the first thing I always ask them is, what have you, and that's from day one when the baby is born. Hopefully I get them beforehand, because then we can talk about all this stuff a little bit more. But from day one, what have you done for yourself? So
amazing. Well, and this is another thing, is because you're like, I wish that I could talk to them beforehand. From working with a couple folks that are coaches in this, postpartum doesn't mean after the baby is born. You can get the postpartum that whole thing. Yeah, you can get it while you're pregnant, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And how much of a percentage of people actually experience that?
I think we have not gotten the right numbers. This is because we're just realizing now ACOG, which is the big OBGYN big association, they've started just in the last couple of years really screening from prenatally.
Yeah.
And we pediatricians will take over, and OBGYNs will take over postnatally. And in my experience in clinic, we're actually doing it up to 4 months. To recognize this whole idea that there's actually 4 distinct trimesters, and you are so hormonally at the mercy of your hormones that these are 4 distinct trimesters that go on. So
that is a really interesting way to look at it, because to just have the baby come out and be healthy, and then still not think about, well, there's all this imbalance going on with the mother still, right?
Yes.
And major mental health changes going on, and and new stressors that have been added. It would make sense that there would be a 4th, almost, or I don't know what to call it, quadmester.
Trimester. It's actually called 4th trimester. You actually get out of a fog. You feel like you get out of a fog.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. You're beginning to talk about self-care, right? Like, what does that look like when it comes to succeeding as a mother? And I think so much of motherhood, like, is in parenthood in general, is this implied service component, nurturing component, giving component, because the little one can't give back yet.
Yes.
And so what does the self-care aspect look like either in your story or in working with your patients?
Great. So, like I said, it starts with day one.
Mm-hmm.
You went through labor. It's called labor for a reason. It's hard work. So, right from the get-go, after you have to do all of these things that you have to do skin to skin, you have to breastfeed, all that good stuff. I mean, self-care, I say 5 minutes. 5 minutes. First of all, no electronics. Electronics suck up your energy. You cannot do anything electronics. 5 minutes first day, eat a piece of cake. Sit there, eat a piece of cake.
I like this self-care.
Yes, because you just did labor. Like, it's called labor for a reason.
What did you eat after your 4 babies?
Oh my God. Okay, so there's a cake at Target.
You ate Target cake?
No, it's an organic Archer Farms cake. It reminds me of those, it's this big, it's huge. And it's like loaded with calories. One slice is like 1,000 calories. And that was my, and I was like, that's my self-care.
I could see you doing skin to skin with a handful of Target cake.
No. So here's the thing. The baby cannot be involved in it. Because then you have a responsibility. Then you're like, I have this thing, right? Like I have to nurture it. I have to give it. That's not self-care. Self-care is putting the stuff back into you. Right?
That makes so much sense because you're still in a nurturing mode as long as the baby's involved.
Exactly. Like this has nothing to be, you're not a mom, you're not a wife, you're not a partner. It's what you want to identify of who you are deep down. Like for the other thing for me personally is I love to read books. Yeah. And so I would just always have one book and I would always have about 5 to 10 minutes where I could read a couple of pages. Walking the dog when we get outside of the hospital, walking the dog does not count because again, you have a responsibility.
Okay.
You know, it literally is to look into yourself and say, you know, because each person has a journey. Like what defines Sonal? Like what defines me and what makes me happy? And I'm going to take that for 5 to 10 minutes every single day and put it back into me. Then I can come back and be a better mom, better wife, better whatever.
I could see this being easy and hard for some people at the same time. Like where it's like, you know, can't I just do this while I'm like holding the baby and like, or can't I do this while I'm on the walk? Can't I read the book with the dog or whatever? Like, and the answer is no. The replenishment comes from you time. And I wonder how many people you've had who are like, you know what, Dr. Sonal Patel, I've never had me time. I've never had it. You know, it's always been go, 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 go. And now you're telling me like these 5 minutes to really not disengage, but just disconnect from certain things that are like in my physical proximity. It's not I disengage mentally, but, you know, I just need to focus to turn inward for a second. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And it doesn't have to be like these major things where you're taking like 8-hour baths and taking pictures on Instagram of your feet with the wine that you're drinking, right? Or like all that crap. It's 5 minutes, what it sounds like. Okay.
Yeah.
So also at the same time, there's the care that you take care of for yourself. But then there's the sort of care that the United States healthcare system can provide or not provide for us. Right. And I know you talk a lot about revolutionizing postpartum care in the United States. What does that look like for you?
Yes. So let's kind of take a step back and define where we are right now before where I want to take us, where every other country is. So what usually happens, this is typically you deliver a baby in the hospital. If you have a midwife or birthing center, that's a totally different route that people take. So majority of the people have a baby in the hospital. Then they get discharged from the hospital. And this is what we're talking, just the first 7 days of life of this child, okay? Then you're told to go to your pediatrician's office. Your pediatrician's office, unfortunately, does not have enough time to address all the needs there is. One of the biggest is breastfeeding. Because now we're like, okay, moms have to breastfeed. Then what happens is then you have to go to a lactation specialist. So that's, again, traveling. Then you come back to your pediatrician's office because you want to make sure that the baby's gaining weight or how you're doing. So what have you done to this mom who's just had a baby in the first week of life?
You're shipping him around.
Exactly. So where is this time of actually succeeding in breastfeeding when you're not even giving her the time to actually nurse, right? Like, you're just not. Now what has happened is there are a couple of things in medicine that have happened, like it's called the congenital heart disease screening and the jaundice screening. So the first appointment that you go to is essentially, let's make sure the baby's weight is okay, and let's make sure breastfeeding's okay, and let's make sure there's no jaundice issues. Guess what? All of that stuff does not need to be done in a clinic. It can be done at home. And what you do by just shifting that scenario is you're giving the value to that mom that, hey, listen, you just had a baby. For me personally, I've had a C-section, and let me tell your audience in context of what a C-section is. A C-section is abdominal surgery. If any other time in your life you have abdominal surgery, it's like, oh, you can't lift X amount of weight, you can't lift X amount of blah, blah, blah. But in a C-section, you have this abdominal surgery, and then you're handed a child. You're handed a baby, right? So now your body is not only healing itself, but has to heal enough and go beyond to make enough milk to nurture another human being. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think people understand that.
It's like getting an ACL repair and then being asked to run a race in like...
Right.
so wild.
And think about this. I mean, I've had issues. I've had a couple of natural deliveries, and I've had issues with them also. I mean, there's times that I just physically couldn't even walk. And now I'm feeling so guilty because I can't take my baby to my pediatrician's office. And this is actually the fourth one, really highlighted this. I didn't even see the pediatrician. My baby was weighed. I was a fourth-time breastfeeding mom. So the nurse quickly was like, hey, everything going okay? I was like, yeah. And then it's like off the door. 10 minutes. That's all. 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I outline it on my website, but I took 4 hours to make that 10-minute appointment. And what I went through was ridiculous.
Wow. Well,
so that's it.
Are there countries that we can look at that are maybe more model countries?
Yes. Oh my God. Denmark, Japan.
Same thing with happiness. Denmark is number one for that.
Yes.
So Denmark.
That's where all the research is coming through. Actually, United States, there are a couple. Kaiser does this, but Kaiser sends a nurse out. And so they're, depending on where you are, and if you're a Kaiser patient, you have the benefits of this. There are some federally funded programs, but it's a small niche. So they're usually, there's one that is just geared to first-time teen moms. But if you're a second-time teen mom, you don't get the benefit of this program. And that just boggles me. It's like, well, that's even more challenging because usually teen moms have babies like very close together. So now you have a toddler and a baby that you're trying to make to an appointment that only lasts about 20 minutes. So those countries that have actually employed this have shown that they have reduced, like big headline, postpartum depression. It's just like, and we're so worried about mom's mental wellness. Yeah. And we're doing so much research on this. And again, mom's mortality rates and morbidity rates with pregnancies. It's one thing that we're forgetting, I think, in the bigger picture of the conversation is just but you're making this poor mom travel so much in the first week. Like, what are you doing to her?
This is a big one because you're talking about a reorganization in terms of the way that the delivery of healthcare is structured in the United States. But you're talking about revolutions, and I know how revolutions work, right? And so what can be done for either a group of people, a group of parents, a group of citizens that want to see more options or want to see some sort of change towards a Denmark, Japan model? Because right now I'm like, Okay, that's great. I can move to Denmark now, right? Like,
Right.
aside from moving to Denmark, what can we do to begin to shift the needle?
Right. So, okay, so first of all, just recognize it. That we're putting moms through that. Okay, let's just recognize the issue at hand. Value moms and women's rights, I guess. I think that's a big hot topic there right now. And then honestly, I know a couple of physicians around the country that are doing the same thing that I am. So first of all, inquire in your area, in your community, if this is possible.
And that's where NayaCare comes in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So NayaCare is, it's a newborn specialty clinic where I actually go out and I'll do the first appointment, or it is actually a program. So it's a 1-month program because I want to help moms transition through that whole postpartum period. I physically go out twice to do 2 newborn appointments. But besides that, it's a lot of coaching that I do on the sides. I'm unlimited texting, unlimited everything, to be like, okay, like I just had a mom yesterday. It's like, what did you do for yourself today? And she sent me a picture of her and her husband outside without the baby. And so I give couples.
Who's watching the baby? The dog?
Grandpa. No, Grandpa.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have NayaCare up there. It's one of the options out there, covered by insurance, right?
Actually, it isn't. So
Okay,
that's an interesting thing. It's a direct for fee service right now. But I'm actually currently working in a clinic where we're starting to charge insurance, and we're going to see at the end of August what our numbers look like and how they reimburse. So what really happened really cool in January, for those people and want to know a little bit more about the medical system, is Medicaid and Medicare came out and said that now so before they would be like, well, you needed a reason for these home visits, right? You needed to give a reason like why you had to do this. They actually came out January 1st of just this year and said, we don't need a reason. If you feel as a provider that you need to go out and do these visits, by all means. See, that didn't make national news or anything, right? Not at all. And so we're actually, with this clinic that I'm working in, we serve a variety of populations from private pay to Medicaid babies.
Amazing.
And so we're starting to do this program through them, and we're going to see if insurance pays for it. And that is the revolution in its sense, because once we can make the insurance companies be like more, if they pay for it, I mean, that's a huge step, like right there. Then you can take it to any clinic and say, you can do this. Because I'm only one person, but I can teach other people how to do this.
That's freaking cool. NayaCare.com is the website. Also, at the same time, if you look at the show notes, you can just click NayaCare. The link works if you want to go to it. We're just touching the surface here, but also at the same time, like, I think we're joking about college, but we were the village. We were a village when we were in college, right? And so what does this idea of now, embracing the village mean when you're talking about succeeding as a mother? Yes.
So with the village, first of all, ask your village for practical stuff. Like tell your village, you don't need the baby warm wiper thing, okay?
Oh, come on. Everybody needs the baby warm wiper. They're cold.
No, you don't need that. Babies are going to scream when they get their butts clean. It's just a natural thing. And trust me, I fell for it, okay? So, but, for example, unfortunately, sometimes our villages aren't right next to us. Yeah. We rely heavily on friends, and then our family has to come out to us.
Yeah.
There are services such as doulas, postpartum doulas, that actually come out. Look into one I think they run anywhere in our area, they run $30 an hour, but that's a great gift to give. A meal service, those are some practical gifts. So when we did a baby shower for a mom, and this was her second kid, and we just wanted to celebrate her too. But we didn't do your typical baby shower. We got together and we actually prepped meals for her so she could just put it in the freezer.
Oh,
so
amazing.
Really look at practical stuff that you can give, and definitely diapers and all the other stuff that if you do want to give. But please, when you come to a mom's house to visit her, always bring food. Don't bring flowers. Always bring food. Screw the flowers. It's a waste of money.
You become the Indian auntie all of a sudden.
I am. Bring food. Bring food.
I love it. I mean, it takes a village. A village can cause a revolution, but then also at the same time, every member of the village has a responsibility for their own self-care. So I love as someone who went into public health, I love the sort of multiple layers that you put in this, the socio-ecological model that you're pretty much working through with us right now. Sonal.
We just on one note. So when you were talking about the duck village, right?
Yeah.
We came together, but if you reflect back, we laughed and we joked, but we also pushed each other to do the best that we could do, in whatever area we wanted. I knew a couple of guys who would challenge each other. They would just take a class and challenge each other to get the best grade in there. Mm-hmm. So you surround yourself with like-minded people. We got you to dance in the Indian dance. We embraced it. We're like, come on over.
But you couldn't get me to grow that dang beard like everyone else.
Now you're growing it.
And it was one of the most life-changing things ever to be a part of Browntown, right?
Yeah.
And then to go to Georgia Tech and to feel like I always connected with, there was a connection there. And then we'd go to those after parties and and all that and have fun, but really it was those dance, it was that coming together, and the Duck was the name of the student union. But yeah, we had each other.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Like the last senior year, I mean, you remember all the trips we took together, but we took it as a group. We didn't just be like, okay. And as any family, we had our ups and downs, but we always came back together. And I bet, like, talking to you doesn't feel like haven't talked to you in years. It just feels so natural.
It still feels like we're sitting in the Duck shooting the crap. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's amazing, and I do remember this. I remember we would sit around, and by we, our group, we would sit around and we'd talk about, well, what's so and so going to be like 10 years from now? What's so and so going to be like 10 years from now? And it's really amazing to see the way that we were kind of on point with it, but also at the same time, like, we've allowed ourselves to kind of go on that journey and create something very special for ourselves and our families. So it was the most non-shocker that you married your college, college sweetheart, but also at the same time to see you leading revolutionary work right now, to see you doing this care, to see you focus on self-care right now. Like, it's really, really cool. I would say whoever's watching right now, who is your tribe? Who is your as Kat, who's watching right now, calls it our hui. That's what it's called in Hawaiian, right? So I want you to say hi to Nimesh. That was 55 minutes, sister.
Are you serious?
Yes. So I hopefully, I would love to have you back to talk more about this. Maybe we'll have a panel on this one day or something like that. But I would love to have you back. Say hi to Nimesh. I still got little hands. When you put your hands up to Nimesh, he's got huge hands. So anyways, say hi to Nimesh. I miss him. I miss the crew. But also, I keep you guys in the heart. This is why it's called the Golden Mic, Sonal. It's called the Golden Mic because since you coach, you know we do visioning activities. And so I want you right now to just take a deep breath, and I want you to imagine a golden mic is now coming down from your ceiling. And this golden mic has the power, or it does, translate into every language, and it amplifies to every single region of the world. When I flip the mic, everyone is listening. There's a couple people who need to hear what you're about to say.
Sure.
So Sonal, your golden mic is live now.
All right. For all the moms out there, screw the mom guilt. It's stupid. It's not needed. And really take away all those parenting apps, take away all those breastfeeding apps, and really believe in your maternal instincts. Because guess what? It's going to take you further than you ever know. And everything else is just noise.
Amazing. So I want you to hold that golden mic right now. I want to feel the weight before I hand it off tomorrow. You know what I'm going to make you do? I'm going to make you drop that golden mic. Drop the golden mic like it's hot. Now smash it. Smash it. Bungra on it. Bungra on it. Ballet. You are an absolute joy. Your family's an absolute joy. And to have gone on the same journey for those 4 years was much more life-changing than I care to think about on a daily basis. But then when I remember, it really was a pivotal moment in my life. I'm so happy that you've been a part of it. Sonal Patel, NayaCare.org.
Before you go,
yeah.
I just want to say that I am so extremely proud of how you have taken your passion for life, and it resonates till this day. And I'm just incredibly proud of you, Mark. So.
Thank you, Sonal. Do you like the red hair, by the way?
I do.
Yeah, thank you. I should have worn it in college. Not the short white hair for a while. But anyway, sun-in doesn't work. Sonal and I have one last question for you, and it's this. Episode 159. So if you're watching this, you're a mom, you know a mom, share this out. Like this, love it, want some more of it. Let's get this to as many people. Let's get the revolution out there. But this is the question that we have for you. If you are feeling happy today and you're living life to its fullest in terms of meaning, what is your responsibility to change history for the better? I'm Mark Cordone. This is Dr. Sonal Patel. We are out. Take care.
Bye.